So legit. So cool.
Starting to feel normal already. There's a fucking fly that I'm going to be whacking the
I
whole time.
already
I'm
ordered
here.
a fly zapper.
Did you?
Yeah, sure did. It'll be here Tuesday.
Perfect. Yeah, fucking fly. And we're going to set it
We
right
have
here.
one in the RV, but
Hey guys, and welcome to another edition of the UTP podcast. My host is Jaybird as always, and today I actually have my wife Mare Bear with me. Our goal with this podcast has always been to help people make more money at events. And between Julie and I, we've attended over 1,000 events. We've generated tens of millions of dollars in revenue. And so, yeah, here we are today with a little new, theme behind our podcast. So tell them why.
yeah, well, we all know you've spent a lot of time, money, energy, effort into creating this podcast studio.
Yep.
And it really stemmed from us being able to continuously do a podcast every week, even though it wasn't the highest quality. We just wanted to build that habit and make sure that we could sustain. So I feel like at this point we've sustained, and now we're stepping up the podcast game, which kind of brings us to the next point. We're only going to be doing one podcast a week. Just moving forward and putting a lot of energy and effort into that one.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be more valuable for everybody.
Well, and I mean, Mary can tell you, her and I, when we had this idea to do the studio, we hired someone to even help us design it because we wanted it to be perfect, because we want people to know that we care, and we wanted to give the best possible product that we could. What do you think, Mare? One of those fun, Mare Bear's first time, just so you guys know, on a podcast, especially video, and so she's so nervous right now. So we'll be calling her out. Don't worry. But just for the record, one of the biggest reasons that this is so important is we can put a lot of effort into one, and we realize that we can do it consistently. But putting a lot of effort into one, we think you can get more out of that one. And we were talking about it might be long enough that you could break it up and play it a few days out of the week,
or listen to it more than once if you need.
Yeah, for sure. So with that, we'll get started with today's topic. Mary, since you're so scared to talk, we'll let you tell us what our topic is today.
Okay, well, Chad this morning said, hey, you're going to come on a podcast. And I said, what's it about? And he threw me in, it's better to know. Just go in without knowing. So today we're going to talk about social media and building a following.
Yeah.
So the reason why we have this topic is because Anthony on Slack, he posted his Instagram and was really asking for feedback and our opinions. So it kind of stemmed from that. So hopefully this will answer a lot of questions for him.
Awesome.
Everybody, really.
Yeah, so with that, we're going to get started here. Okay, so basically, whoops, hang on. Looks like we have the wrong slide going. It's okay. Hang on.
Yep.
Oh, well, here we are. We're all over the place. This is our first one. Don't worry.
Yep.
All right, perfect. She's just going to click it.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
And
here we
we're
go.
going to go back.
All
I don't
right.
know why that
This
did
is
that.
great.
That's all right.
No big deal.
Yep.
All right, perfect. So what is a following and how does it work? So basically a following is the extent of your reach online. And if you put something out into the world, what is the potential of people that can see it? And people that follow you, they will, if they like what you're doing, they'll go to your stuff and they'll look at what you're posting. So, Alex Hormozy said it best a long time ago when he said the best day to build a following was the day you were born. The second best day is today. And I thought a lot about this. And I wanted to talk about Brady. Like, we have a little 9-year-old Brady who's got a bug show. And Brady, it's like a bug show with like 100 people. It's not a following. We used to do it to our family and friends. But the reason that a following would make a huge difference for someone like Brady that you might not think about is if Brady put a lot of effort into this bug show and he grew a following to, let's just say hypothetically, 1 million people. It doesn't really matter what the number is. But then if someone was casting like a bug movie or something, and he's as good as someone else, there is an opportunity there's a possibility that because he has such a reach, they would be interested in working with him because he can help get the word out a lot faster than someone else.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Not even that. It's learning how to do it at a young age, how to sell anything, how to...
Yep.
Doesn't matter what he's doing. He has that following now to put himself in front of.
Yeah. And, the thing that we are going to discuss on this, though, is that just because you have a big following, it doesn't always mean it's worth money. And it doesn't always mean that it's great just because it's big, just so you know. Like, there's a lot that I think people get confused. They see these big numbers and they just assume like, oh, this person has 3 million followers, they're making millions. It's not true. Like, it is absolutely not true. So with that, guys, we do believe that a following is important, but the right following. Specifically, for Anthony asking about this or anyone, you really want to niche down on your following because that's where you get the most value for your effort. So with that, Jaybird, let's move forward here.
We also think like of a big following, how many are bots or purchased followers or whatever.
No
so yeah.
There are these, it's actually funny you say that. I don't know if you've seen this, but there are these, literally no joke. They're like iPhone farms in China. And if you can Google these, it's crazy. And they'll have like 1,000 phones, and all they do is they make a post, and then they comment over here, and they comment over here, and they like over here, and it creates this like. So often years ago, when I first started doing TikTok, and we're going to go into our followers here, but when I first started, one of the things that everyone recommended doing was having like a like, share, comment group. So if you post a video, you wanted to send it out because, and again, we'll go into how, specifically TikTok and how it goes to 200 people first and what that works. But what would happen is I would post one, and then I had a group, like 20 people that I would send it to right away. They would watch it all the way through, they would comment on it, and they would share it with someone. And then that told TikTok that, oh my God, this is good content. We're going to show it to another set of people. But then it would fall on deaf ears if it wasn't actually good content. So it's one of those hacks that works for a very, very small period of time. So I wouldn't recommend that. But yeah, a lot of these followings, a lot of them are fake.
Hashtags.
Yeah,
they work
exactly.
for a small period of time.
Yeah,
they don't
I
work anymore.
wouldn't even put a hashtag. Yeah. So, all right, with that, we're going to talk about UTP's following. And by the way, we're going to point out that we have actually never put an effort into a following, ever.
We did for like a very short period of time.
Yeah, which we'll discuss here.
Right.
So we'll talk about what we did to grow UTP. So you can see here, we have about 5.4 thousand followers on UTP. And then my personal TikTok account has about 136,000 followers. So we're going to talk about the difference and kind of how it works. So Julie, why don't you tell us how and what you did to help grow the UTP one, because it was expensive.
Well, to be fair, we jacked up the price $5 extra to be able to give $5 off for a 5-star review. So, and really, I was just the driving force behind it because it was very uncomfortable for people. It's kind of like how people feel uncomfortable asking for tips today. But back then, I just kind of had a sign on my booth, $5 off for a 5-star review. And I wouldn't necessarily do that today because I feel like people would then comment.
Oh, yeah, they will.
That I was paid for this review. So, but 7-8 years ago, no one really like thought of that or even cared.
Yeah.
They just wanted the $5 off. And I actually am very grateful that we did that so far, because if you look and you see we still have a 94% recommendation over 290 reviews. And that saves us from the 1-star reviews because we do get bad reviews.
Well, we talked about this, and we were talking about this off air, right? But one of the things that happens with these particular 1-star reviews is we have a big reach, and we might bring someone on that works with us for a month, and then they fall off, and then they never ship something. We don't even know. And by the time it hits us, they're already upset. They leave us a 1-star review, and then there we are stuck with it. And it's like, what do you do? Mm-hmm. So, there's often times that a following can be good and bad because people usually give one of two options: 1 star or 5 stars. I don't see a lot of 3 stars, 3.5 stars. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I know you don't want me to ask that word. It makes it fun, but you know what I mean? Like when you say, I'm sure you were cringing when she was saying that we were paying for reviews, because I know that's something you would never do. But
well, like I agree with you. Back then, worked perfectly. No one gave a thought to it, but now it's a little more sensitive with how you go about things. Like there's whistleblower, whatever.
Could you imagine a whistleblower on our following?
But I don't even think it matters having 5-star reviews, because every time I go to buy a product, I only read the low-star reviews. Like what are they saying? And then you can have a bad review, but how does the company respond to that bad review? And that's how I purchase things. So
I actually agree with that. I agree with that 100%. I also do the same thing. I look at those reviews, and more importantly, like you said, how does the company give feedback? Do they respond to it? Do they just ignore it?
I don't think it matters if you have a 1-star review, but what are you going to do about that? Are you going to make sure that your customer's taken care of? I like to see that.
Yeah.
So if you just
I think
say
what you're saying is you just really like engagement, just showing that they care. They reached out. They were like, hey, we're sorry you had this thing. Because I see there's a lot of automated responses to those just so it shows that they responded. They'll be like, hey, really appreciate your feedback. We'll take that in consideration. Thank you. Like, it's clearly automated, right? Yeah, right. Exactly. So when I see those, I'm like, dude, you didn't put any, you probably didn't even reship it.
Yeah.
You know, so, okay. So now, growing UTPs, by the way, we did that from having, paying for those. And really, honestly, it never exploded because the following we were getting, we were again buying it basically because we were giving a discount for review. I know you're saying we raised the price, but it doesn't matter.
There was no strategy behind it.
No, zero. And also, there's a whole other thing behind this is having a following. What are you going to do with it? What are you doing with the following? What are you posting? What is the purpose behind it, right? So you can talk about the same question is like, what are you looking for from a following? I have 136,000 people and I can tell you how it all got started. I made a comment one day a few years ago that I could have grown a huge following if I wanted to. And I don't remember who it was that said I could. Maybe it was my sister or someone, but I was like, yeah, I can. And so sure enough, I started making videos. But what the craziest part is I made videos about business advice, which if you think about it, would attract people that I want in my circle, people that are starting businesses that care about personal inspiration, personal growth, how to go through the grind and struggle and get to the end. But what happened was Mary and I and our kids were camping in the Grand Canyon. And one morning I went to get breakfast at McDonald's. And while I was getting breakfast, I'm not joking, I ordered 2 sandwiches, 2 things of oatmeal, 2 things of orange juice, and 2 bottles of water. And it was like $80. I could not believe it. And so what I did was I had this little TikTok channel that was a lot of fun. And I just took my phone on and I was like, guys, you are never going to believe how much money I just got charged at McDonald's for breakfast for a family of 4. And then I paused and I said, so what I want to explain is something called price gouging in high traffic tourist areas. And then I gave them a little bit of like education on how price gouging works in specific areas where there were no other options, and then what companies do it. And then at the very end, I shared the amount we spent. And I mean, I know you remember that day. TikTok took that thing. Yeah. Poof. That was the first, I think, video you and I have ever experienced that went super viral.
Oh, it made the drive home so much faster because we were just like reading all the comments. And they were fun. And I don't know,
we were commenting to everyone. When it first, I mean, that thing went to 1 million views in, I mean, it was so fast. Like we would refresh and we were getting 10,000 views a minute. It was and the comments were just.
Yeah, there was no falling asleep on that drive. No. Like, woo.
Yeah, but it was like a dopamine. It was really weird, right? But here's the thing. What happened with that was that day, a lot of the following started, okay? But it wasn't the right following. It wasn't people that cared about business.
Right. But you realized there was a need for people excited about learning a little bit of something and then tying it into modern day. So I think that's kind of where this channel has taken off. And now with the UTP, it's like we're giving you guys education on building your company and integrating it in with your company. So you're learning about business and being able to apply it. So,
well, and you made a comment about my TikTok channel when we were kind of building this presentation yesterday. And what did you say about the content? What does it remind you of?
Jeopardy.
Right.
Jeopardy fun facts.
It was Jeopardy fun facts because what I did, if you look like on the top 3 videos, there's a total of 7 million views, right? And the first one was an old Kmart building. And then I gave the history of Kmart versus Walmart. The second one was a Spirit Halloween and how they're owned by Spencer's, right? Stuff people didn't know. And the other one was what happened to Quiznos. And then I talked about what Quiznos' franchise model and how poor it was. Well, here's the thing. That is what we were calling edutainment, right? So we were educating people, but we were entertaining them. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, while it does create a large following, there was actually very little value for the 136,000 followers. We've only had one specific post that ever generated any real money. I mean, they pay posts, like TikTok pays you for some of the millions of views, but like for a 3 million video, I got like $50, right? It's literally nothing and not even worth the amount of time you make it. But I did it in the beginning because I thought it was fun and I was learning, but again, neither of these followings have been valuable except for one piece, and we will talk about that. So we're going to carry on here. All right. So what we've tried, pictures versus videos. Okay, so one of the things that we wanted to highlight was the image on the right is a photo of a kid's wearing socks. It was a set of team socks, and we did socks for a little while. Again, we've probably heard that in our Lady in the Red Dress. No interest in that. But we did a giveaway, and we had the, like it, share it, comment, and you can see here we had 372 likes. I want to say it was viewed, it was like 10,000 times or something, and we probably boosted this post. I don't really remember. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah, it was definitely posted.
It boosted? Okay. Yeah, but here's the thing. Out of this entire thing, I think we probably gave away a pair of socks and maybe sold a team and maybe sold one or two teams total. Right? So...
Well, I think our downfall, and it's not just on social media, but things in general, has been the follow-up.
Absolutely.
And that's what we've been working so heavily on.
Yep.
But, like, great idea.
Yep.
But it's like a deep black hole.
Yeah.
Because if this is going to work, there's so many things that need to happen afterwards.
That's such a great point. And the thing about social media, and Anthony talking to you specifically, and anyone listening to this, if you want social media to work, it takes effort like anything else, and it is not easy, right? Like, just looking at this post, if you were to ask me what would we have done differently right now today if we did this post, and I think this post was like in 2021, yeah. So if we did this today, first thing I would do is the team we send it to, I would want videos, right? I would want to do a phone call. I would want to do a Zoom call with the kid, showing me his socks, like what does he think of them, getting as many questions as I could, interviewing each one of the kids that would be willing to do it, just to put them on our show. Because I think that alone would be more interesting. And also, time you get a kid on a camera, they say all sorts of stuff. You never know, right? But okay, so we could go down a rabbit hole of what we would do different with this. But we want to show you guys that even though you get likes on it, 372 likes, and it gets viewed 10,000 times, it doesn't mean that you make money with it. It just doesn't. Even though we were literally trying to sell a product or give them away, we couldn't even give them away, right? Like, people thought it was awesome, but they aren't customers that want to buy stuff. So now, this was an interesting post that I wanted to share with you guys by a guy named Gary V. So I'm going to show the video. I'll show the video real quick. Let me share my phone here with the screen. All right, got 8168. Okay. So if you guys see on the right-hand side of the screen here, you'll see I'm going to go to Gary V. He has 10 million followers. Very interesting. Okay, so this is, and if you can't hear it, I'll do a quick sum up, but I want to show it to you really fast. Okay, so you can see he's got captions, but it says that a single TikTok that one lady did, not the agency, not Chili's, nothing, not an influencer, just a human, made one video about some triple cheese thing that they got. It was an appetizer, and that item accounted for 40% of the Q3 revenue for Chili's, all from one single viral post. And that was the first time, like, marketing, if you think about that, right? So I'm going to stop this, and I want to talk about that. So the thing is about content is you never know. It's the weirdest thing ever. I can tell you that on my TikTok channel, I had some videos that I thought for sure were going viral and never did. And then you have ones that you cannot believe that they do. Mm-hmm. So I think with that, I just want you guys to know that sticking with it, keep after it. You never know how it's going to benefit you. But again, there's lots of different ways. My advice would be to study people that are doing it online, because there's a lot of examples. So, okay, the next slide that we have here on the right is Mr. Beast. So Mr. Beast is obviously Mr. YouTube. Whether you like him or not, I know right now there's some controversy going on, but Mr. Beast has been very famous for talking about two specific things that grew his channel bigger than anything else. And number one is title, and number two is the thumbnail. So what Mr. Beast says that he and his staff, they do before they ever make a video is they come up with a title. And then after they come up with a title, they come up with a video. And then after they come up with a video, they come up with the first 5 seconds that they are going to show of that video. And those three things are more important than everything else. And so there's a rule that says if you are paying to post or boost something, you spent 80% of your money on the title.
You said video.
Yeah.
Isn't it thumbnail?
Thumbnail is, no. So the thumbnail, so it's title,
right?
Thumbnail, and the first 5 seconds of the video.
Okay, I don't think you said thumbnail the first time. I just wanted to clarify.
Okay,
you're fine.
gotcha. Yeah. So, but that's what he's focused on. Okay. So then what I did was, if you notice, I pulled up 3 news articles, and I wanted to give you an example of what a title looked like. So we're going to look at Mr. Beast, and then we're going to look at these 3 thumbnails. So the 3 thumbnails say, the first one says, what they found at the bottom of the world's largest blue hole. So what news articles are so good at is creating a title that makes you feel like you're missing out if you don't click it. And that is how you hook someone. Okay, so the next one says, has Angelina really found a new man? Now, I want to point out something about this one that's actually not as valuable. Okay, this one right here actually gives the answer in the image. So you don't have a need to click it. And there is a ton of information about that I think makes a lot of sense. Okay, so you want to shy away from that. Okay, so the next thing that we have going on here is 5 simple ways to prime your microbiome for easier weight loss. So this one, what does it tell you you're going to be doing if you click on this? We're going to learn 5 things. Now, if you load this thing and they give you 3, probably not going to be too happy about it, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you guys are ever find yourself falling guilty to the world of clickbait, but this is an exact example of what clickbait is. So,
well, and another really great example is Pinterest. If you ever scroll through Pinterest, I mean, I feel like the number one, I mean, that's what it is. It's all 5 simple ways to parent better or run your business better. So if you just go on Pinterest and look at their titles,
Yep.
that's the whole purpose, is to click on it and read the article.
Well, remember, online and social media, everything, people are like, the value is eyeballs. How much time do you spend on something? And that's why TikTok, Instagram, they're only showing videos that people want to see, because the last thing they want is to show you something you don't want to see, because there's a chance you're going to get off that platform. And their business is eyeballs. So the last piece here is I want to just point out, so on Mr. Beast's title, he has one that says $1 versus $1 billion yacht. Okay, so that right there, and obviously the icon, if we could transition to that icon, so you see the icon's like a little canoe, right? And then on the right, it's a $1 billion boat. So if you're looking at this right here makes you want to know, what is that $1 billion yacht? And also, what is a $1? What do you fucking buy for $1? I don't even know. So this is what made him so famous. And if you have not ever researched Mr. Beast, like him or not, you should look up videos about him. Because he talks a lot about how he grew stuff. But the top one says, I asked YouTube millionaires for a house tour. What does that tell you you're going to see? You're going to be looking at millionaire YouTubers, and you're going to get a chance to see their houses. You know, most people are curious about that stuff. So, all right, with that, we're going to keep moving on. Hopefully that makes sense about the titles and why it's so important to name it right. So, next question is, how much time should you commit to building a following?
You know, we were chatting, and what I personally think is because you're one of 2 things on social media or anything in general, right? The user or the creator.
Consumer. Yeah, consumer or creator, yeah.
So I feel like if you are just the consumer at this point, taking at least 2/3 of that time to create.
Go to your battery settings and look at how much time you put into TikTok.
Well, it's still, if you're going in with a purpose of looking at what's working for other people and what's being shown to you, fine. Like, that's your market
Take
research.
Notes.
Right. Take notes, but then stop the scrolling, and then actually commit to growing your following, growing your social media.
I agree 100%. So now the question is, how much time should you commit? We talked a lot about this slide before we started, and this is what we've come up with. Everything that you're doing right now, if you do not have money, it should make you money. And if it is not making you money right now in the short term, you should not be doing it. However, I do understand the value of building a following, and more importantly, the value of just getting comfortable with posting, getting comfortable creating video, getting comfortable understanding, doing those things. So we were talking about basically an hour a day.
But I also would like to point out, too, which platform of followers is the most important to work on within the stage of your business.
For sure. Yeah.
Because there's more that are more valuable than others.
Yeah, is that our next slide? Do you mind going to that one right now? Okay. Well, it's not. So hang on. We'll go back to it because, it's right here. Yeah. So basically you have Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, email, and then also Facebook, which is funny. We left that off here. Okay.
Well, Facebook and Instagram are owned by the same people.
Yeah.
So it's
another Jeopardy fact.
Tied in.
Yeah. Instagram, Facebook also own WhatsApp. for those of you that don't know that. Okay, so Instagram is more of your late 20s, 30-year-old demographic is a primary one. Facebook's the older one. Unfortunately, that's my generation. I hate to admit it. TikTok is a mix of everything. YouTube is where people go to YouTube a lot less for entertainment, and I think more so for learning. Like if you're looking for a tutorial, you're not really searching on TikTok. Usually you're searching on YouTube. And then email. We're going to talk a lot about email because actually email is way more valuable than all of the social media platforms combined, believe it or not. And I think a lot of people would argue that, but I will make my case later on in this podcast. So if you're looking at Instagram, and we're going to pull up Anthony's, right? Because he specifically talked about, we want to talk about like what people are looking at. But Mayor, we were talking before we got started on this, video over post. It's the thing today.
Yeah.
Right? When you're looking for a product review, do you look at videos or posts?
Definitely videos.
Because posts we can edit. Maybe it's just because we're Photoshop experts, but we know that if I see something just a photo, someone touched that thing up. It's harder to do a video.
Well, I think before we move on from this, is, if we were Anthony or anybody that's trying to build a following, who is our target market?
100%.
And what platform are we using? For me, if we're trying to promote photo days, I'm going to do Facebook because that's where the parents, the coaches, the team moms, the managers, that's where they're living. Yeah. Maybe Instagram. I think they're getting close. But again, you can cross post very easily between Facebook and Instagram. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
Well, and a strategy starts with something very, very, very important. What is your goal? Mm-hmm. And I talk about this a lot all the time. Julie, we talk about this on our podcast all the time. It's like someone telling me they want to be successful. What does that mean to you, right? Successful to me means I just don't wake up to an alarm clock, right? What does it mean? Because we were talking about this. If you say that you want to have an easy life, but you want to have $1 billion company, I can assure you, having $1 billion company will not give you an easy life. It will be the most stressful life you can imagine. So it's really diving into what is it that you want from your following? Are you trying to sell items? Are you trying to build a following of coaches? Are you trying to build a following of team moms? Are you trying to build a following of players? Because each one of those components have an entirely different strategy for how to give them content that they will actually like want to consume. And I think that's a big, big part of it. So, okay. So this one specifically is email. I'm going to make my case here, right? Everyone will tell you that let me just say this out loud. If I had a choice between having 1 million followers on TikTok and an email database of 50,000 people, I will choose an email database of 50,000 customers. I will choose an email database of 50,000 customers 1,000 times out of 1,000. And I'm going to give you a reason why. So you saw my TikTok channel, 136,000 people. So the way that TikTok works is when you when you post a video, the first thing they do is they show it to 200 people. It's the very, very first thing they do. And then based on the 200 reactions determines what happens next. Okay, so the way they do it is they sample it with your audience. And so imagine if you have the wrong audience following it. So let's say I'm giving Jeopardy facts, but then all of a sudden I do a post about you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But Jeopardy fact people don't really care about that. Okay, all of a sudden they see my post and they just swipe next. They swipe next. So now TikTok says, wait a second. This piece of content, we do not need to show it to anyone else, right? Because it's not even his own followers don't like it. And so they cut it off. Now, here's the difference. So, for example, I have 136,000 followers. I make a video. I might only get 1,000 views. But I have 136,000 people. How does that even work? It works because TikTok, their objective is to keep you on the platform, and they believe that this is not what people want to see. Okay, so they're not going to show it. Now, let's transition to an email database. And we're going to show this one, right? So we're going to transition to an email database of 50,000 people. Here is the difference. If I make an email and I have an email database of 50,000 people, it is a fact that that email is going to their inbox. Now, look, I can't control if it goes to spam, promotions, social tab. It depends on what email platform, if you're using Outlook versus Gmail, whatever. But it will end up in their inbox, guaranteed to go to all 50,000 people. Fact. You cannot guarantee that on social media, no matter what you do, because their job is eyeballs. Their job is to protect what you see and make sure you only see things that lots of people are sharing, lots of people are hearting, lots of people are viewing. You ever thought about that?
No. Yeah. I was thinking, how do you know if they just didn't give you a junk email? Can you tell how many people open your emails?
Absolutely.
What's
So
your rate?
yeah, so let's say that we use, there's a million platforms. We're not going to go down that on this, but currently we use MailChimp and Active Campaigns, and we also use HubSpot. So those are the 3 that we use. All of those not only tell us if someone opens it, they tell us how many times they opened it. So here's the difference. So this is a really great question, actually. Let's say I post a video. It gets viewed, whatever, 1 million times. But I make $100 from TikTok giving me paid from it. But we send an email out about feather flags specifically to 1,000 directors. And we could see that 300 of those directors open the email 3 times or more. What do we now know that we need to do to those 300 directors? Send them another email.
Right.
Right. But
And
the
then
only
you narrow it
absolutely.
down. So what do you guys have certain programs that you can recommend to our UTP people to use their emails to be able to tell those stats?
Yeah, so number one, well, I think if you're just starting, MailChimp's probably the best place to go. And honestly, actually, if you're following it or if your email list is very, very small, you can start with Google Sheets or Excel, and you can send emails personally. Because, okay, the thing that, I mean, and this is a little off topic, but I've always said, how would I compete with me? I've always talked about doing this. I think it's a great strategy for any person to identify your own flaws. But as a company gets bigger, the one thing that they lose is the ability to be small. You lose it, right? So for us, when we're emailing, like with USSSA, we're sending it to 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 people at a time. Whereas if I go in and I had an event this weekend and I got 60 emails and I just sent an email that was like, hey, Mary, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your purchase this weekend. We know that your son, was on the Blue Bombers, and we just wanted to say we hope you guys had a great event. If you ever have any other needs, here's a list of things that I do, and I would always be free to chat with you. Here's my cell phone number. Shoot me a text anytime. Mm-hmm. That right there, believe it or not, you could have an email list. I'm not joking, of 100 people, and it'd be more valuable than a following of 100,000 people on social media.
I agree with that, but I think the most value comes from knowing who's who and who's opening what and being able to narrow it down. Can you do that through Google Sheets and Excel or whatever you were saying?
Correct. Yes, there are add-ons to Gmail that you can put on that show if people open your email. There are add-ons, but you can start out, I think MailChimp's 2,000 emails for free, or I don't know, it's like 2,000 or 3,000 or 1,000, I don't know. But you can put 1,000 in for free, and then whenever you send it, it gives you a report on who opened it, how many times they opened it, did they, like if you have hyperlinks, so call to actions inside email me. Call to action, for those of you that don't know, is like,
click here to redeem.
Yeah, exactly. Click here to join. Click here to sign up. Get 10% off, right? These are all call to actions.
You can separate them by these are the people I found for baseball. Mm-hmm. So I want to send emails a couple months before, like, hey, time to get your team whatever.
So the way you're doing that is through tags. So let's just say hypothetically this weekend we start with Excel. Every person that comes in, and honestly, if you do it in Square, if you're using Square, you just add a customer and then you can export those at the end of the weekend. You can go into your Square account, export them, and then you can upload them to MailChimp and tag them. You can tag them the event, you can tag them the month they bought, the sport they bought, you can tag all those things.
That's probably a really good starting point for all of our crews to start doing immediately if you haven't already.
Yeah, absolutely.
Build
and so,
your email database, which
100%.
You say is the most valuable outside of social media.
No, I think it's more valuable than social media.
The first one to start.
I think so. Yeah, and the reason that it's more valuable is because these are people, A, that have bought for you, or B, that gave you their email. Mm-hmm. That's number one. And you know their interest. So like whenever someone follows me on TikTok, I don't know.
Can you show an email you guys do? Like you guys, you don't just type, hey guys, it's not like a
well,
text
yeah,
email.
And we're going to go into, we are going to cover like how to create high quality emails and how to find people to do that. So that's a later slide that we have coming. But yeah, so again, on this particular component, I just want to point out that if you have an email database, never underestimate the value of a single customer. Okay. And we were talking about this when we were building this slide deck. I want you to imagine having an email list with 1,000 people, and I want to show you how small but how valuable this could be. So let's say you have 1,000 people of just super loyal fans that love what you do. And, there was a specific customer that I'm thinking of. Her name was Lindsay Hall. Remember her?
Mm-hmm.
How did she work and why is she a loyal fan? Because what Julie did is actually something that no one does, and I want to explain it.
I forget, sending her the care package.
Yeah.
I don't remember what exactly I saw. So I friended her on Facebook. And something tragic happened in her life. I don't remember specifically exactly what happened, but I sent her a care package from Amazon. It was like $20 because obviously we've sent her products before.
She had ordered stuff, so we had her address.
We had her address.
Yeah.
And like that moment, I mean, to this day, when we've gone to events and sold posters, and she's like, "Hey, UTP."
Yeah. Yeah.
She's like, I meet some of you guys because she's all the way in Arizona and we're in Illinois. I've never met her, but yet she's been such a loyal customer. And she's only one of. There's another lady that was named. Her name's Joy. She was in hockey. She was a hockey mom that bought socks for us and for years. But what took it to the next level was me engaging with them. I didn't always do email. I just called them if I had a question about their order.
Yeah.
I wrote them handwritten notes, like, thank you for your order. And I put it in the box and sent it off to them, or good luck on your next game, or things like that.
Well, okay. So first of all, thank you for sharing that. And the reason I want to point that out is we're going to use the hypothetical, and every person listening to this can have an email database of 1,000 people within a few months, because individual customers, if you just get every person's email address, you're selling that in a few months, So, okay, just to do some hypothetical math, if you have 1,000 people who love what you do and they have a kid in a summer sport and a winter sport, and they spend $200 with you a year, that's it. Like $200, a package for one kid in the summer and a package for one kid in the winter, $200. That email list is worth $200,000. Okay? Think about that. From 1,000 people. And that's assuming they just buy 2 packages. You don't sell them yard signs. You don't sell them feather flags. You don't sell anything else.
Mini posters
Right.
for Christmas stockings and all the things, right?
Absolutely. Digital flyers, digital Christmas cards for their team. Like, there's so many things that we can do with it. And that little list of 1,000 people, if you focus on the right things, is so valuable. But people get so caught up in the numbers. And so if you could, I want to go to the slide with Riley on it first. So guys, I want to show you, this is actually a friend of mine, and he works out at the same gym I do. His name is Nathan. And so I wanted to point something out. So Nathan has a following of 211,000 people. And recently we've had some conversations about content that he's putting out and ways that he could improve it. But long story short, all of his content is about selling something. All of it. It's every single video is about selling a pair of shoes. And so a 211,000 follower list generates around $300,000 in gross revenue per year. Okay? So I want you to do the math on what I was just saying. 211,000 people, and we could make that on 1,000 people of the right people. And that right there is the difference. While this gives you clout when someone goes to your page, it almost never ends up being revenue. And that's the real problem. And then when you go to the post, it's like, oh, you follow it because a lot of people follow it, and they do make really cool videos. But the problem is the videos are all about selling stuff. And actually, I'm having them on our an different podcast that we run called The $1 Million Grind on Wednesday. We are actually interviewing them, and we're going through some of the stuff and things that they're trying, because they recognize it. They have this huge following, but it discourages them, because you would think that they make a lot more than that in a year. And, $300,000, they're selling shoes, that the margins aren't that great on those. And so it's a struggle.
It reminds me prior to social media. It's when TV, this is a commercial. And what the most valuable thing that happened to TV was TiVo, because you could fast forward through the commercials.
That was the most valuable thing for TV?
Well, for that generation of, like, you could fast forward. That was a big thing.
You could skip it.
Like as a consumer, not
as a
the
consumer
person selling.
Right. Because people don't like ads like this.
Yeah, of course.
That's why it was such a big deal in that era. Like, oh, we can skip the commercials.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't engaging. And this is the same thing for the social media
Right.
like
and
page.
look, if you watch some of their videos, I highly recommend checking them out. It's the Riley brand, RAELI_brand. Check them out. Really, really good, high quality editing videos. But at the end of the day, watching their videos doesn't make me feel something.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to compete with the likes of Noble, Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, the biggest names in the world, right? The good news about the poster world, and I've said this many times, is thank God the smartest people in the world didn't decide to come into our industry. It allowed us to survive a long period of time. But okay, so yeah, do you have any insight on this, Mary? Because you've watched their videos.
I like their videos.
They're
I
good.
think they do a really good job. I have to sit and think about it. But when you said you don't feel anything, what I think we could make videos like this. We can make videos like this for UTP, but do it in a way like you have a team poster and you're transported into the poster and you see a team in a huddle, or you're transported into an individual and it's a kid doing a home run, and like you have that memory like, hey, if you want to capture this when you're at an event, these are our posters. This is what we sell.
Yep. Well, and that will lead into our next thing. Go to the value slide for me. Yes. Right here, right there. How is the following worth something? Right there to the left. Sorry. Yep. Okay. So this actually goes into the slide. And by the way, we did have these in order, guys, but we did some edits today, and they're all over the place. So sorry. Okay. So how is the following worth something? So this is actually to Mary's point, what she just said. There are a few ways that social media and a following is actually worth something. So number one, obviously people are very familiar with ads. If you watch YouTube videos, you see the ads that pop up. That's how someone like a Mr. Beast, who has hundreds of millions of followers, makes a lot of money. But just so you guys know, most people that have a following of around 1 million people do not even make enough money to not have to do a normal job. Most of them don't. The only way they can is through affiliate programs, their own merch line, partnering with companies that they can do stuff. But ads alone, it's not enough. So I want to say for every 1 million views on YouTube, I think you can make up to $4,000 on ads for every 1 million views. Okay. And that's assuming, I think, that they watch the whole ad. So most people are probably making like a few $100. So that's one. Purchases, obviously, if people are buying things. So if you can give good content away and then have something that's a hook, that's an amazing piece for purchases. Okay. The next thing is employment. And Julie, this is one that we actually loved because we want people that love what we do. And so if we're coming to an area, they're actually willing to work with us. And I think that is a huge component that very few people think about from a following. You know?
Yeah. I mean, just our internships alone. I mean, during the summer, this past summer, we had great interns. But I expect better interns this next time around because we have a better landing page. We have the podcast that makes us very, very legit.
Yep. And
because the biggest thing that it still blows my mind to this day is when people call us a scam.
I know. It's amazing.
And what it boils down to was they couldn't believe they're getting paid as much as we're willing to pay.
Yeah.
And my response always is, well, we don't have to pay you that much.
And we know what we're about to put you through, and you don't.
Right. Right.
We know what those 100-degree Alabama days are. Yeah.
You're working hard for that.
Oh, yeah. You're earning it. But yeah, so I think having a following and people that love you, if you're ever in a new area, it's something you can post on really quick that says, hey, guys, we're going to be in Dallas this weekend, and we're running an event. We could use a few people, a few hands to take photos with your iPhone. You could drop it on. And that is an opportunity where a following could actually help you get people that, again, could help you make money. That's another one, right?
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
We've talked about having a database, which is still a following, of photographers.
Absolutely.
Just to have on deck, where it's like exactly what you're saying. If you're going to be in a different area. I was talking to Anthony this morning. He has now quite a few people that he can pull from Kansas City, but he's going to Des Moines next weekend.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
Now what? Yeah. Now you have to build the following of photographers out there.
100%. Okay, so the next one is experience. So this is one that I wanted to point out because I think it's important. Just getting experience alone is valuable because you're learning how to take photos, you're learning how to edit photos, you're learning how to work with editors, you're learning how to do video, you're learning, like, did someone like this? Did someone share this? If they didn't, here's what I want to advise you. Don't keep doing it. because people aren't consuming it. Okay. And UTP is very guilty of this. So I will show ours and show, what we've done with that. Okay. The next one's documentation. So this is something for me personally that I am throwing as a personal value to a following, but also for yourself online, is the one thing I wished I had done was better document the journey. Because when I started, it was so hard. I was sleeping in cars instead of hotels because I couldn't afford them. It was hard. It was very, very hard, but I don't have a lot of documentation of it. And so now it just lives in my brain. And so that was one of the reasons that when we did the poster boy, Mary, encouraged me to do that so we could document it for our kids so they kind of knew what we really went through to get it to here, because it's not easy. And when you post this stuff, don't be afraid to be vulnerable. People love people that are like not superhuman, right? They love to see the average Joe winning. It's kind of funny online. Everyone supports you when you're not winning, and the moment you're on top, they all want to rip you back down. It's kind of funny how that works. But I think if you can document your journey online, you alone, that would provide value for someone.
Yeah, for you, it could seem super mundane, but for someone else who is in a 9-to-5 job, you just simply getting things ready for your event is out of their even conceptual reality. So that's interesting. That's something they want to learn about. There's on TikTok, you see it all the time. People just packing orders that they get, or and it's thousands of people viewing it and watching it happen. Just
one other thing we were talking about is a great content piece, and I think we have a slide on content, but a great content piece is actually just doing a time lapse of your setup and your takedown and putting some cool music to it and talking about it. Like this morning we were in Kansas City, we were here, we were doing this, and it was just like the sunrise and the sunset, another 15-hour day in the books. Welcome to the life of an entrepreneur, and just, this is what it takes. It's a grind. It's every day, you work. Like the thing about all of this is that it's progress.
Yeah. And if you go take one of your photographers, I've done this to Julie many times, take a camera out and forget my memory card, come back, and then Julie can be on a story on Instagram and say, okay, this is what we're dealing with now. We went to take pictures and no one has a memory card. So now what are the problems with that? Those are interesting things that just come up in a business, and how do you handle them?
And I think another piece that we don't have on here, but experience could tie into it, is if my content is built around moms, okay, specifically moms, teen moms, whatever, how awesome would it be if we have a kid that, like, we have a 15-year-old daughter, if, let's just say hypothetically, she's shy. How cool would it be to be like, if you're thinking about a unique internship, we have something that will help your kid grow like you could never imagine. Like, this is what we do. They're standing in front of people. They're learning how to public speak. They're learning how to talk, and film yourself doing it and be like, and now for the most awkward time in my day, I am going to go show a poster. This is what it entails. Those things are funny because whenever you say that you're awkward or uncomfortable, it shows people that you're exposing who you are, and people love authenticity. They love it, And so, okay. So Julie, we have on here now, we're going to move on to adding value beyond sales. So we talked about this. Give them an example of why you put some of this on here. Specifically, it says photography tips.
Right, because I was trying to think, okay, if I was Anthony, who would my target market be? Who would I want to be watching my page, my audience? So I think there's a couple different ways. Like, one of them is offering photography tips. And so, like, the lighting. And honestly, you can just go through our UTP University and pull out exactly what I'm saying and just do it again at the events and record it. So that's one, like indoor versus outdoor lighting, making sure your lens is clean. Let me tell you how many people that are older don't realize that you have to clean your lens. I mean, not even older, just people in general.
Yeah.
They don't clean their lens before taking a photo, and then their photos look like shit.
Yeah, and then your tag can be a 0.1 second tip to make your photos look so much better. And it's like, no one thinks, clean your lens.
Yes.
That's a great hook, by the way.
Right.
0.1 second tip.
Yeah. So I think that is, and this also not only moms, but it will pull photographers. So if you're looking for that database of photographers to use at events, here you go. But then you also mentioned yesterday how it gives legitimacy to using iPhones to take the photos.
Yeah, so that was something that I did want to point out. Okay, so one of the things, if you're obviously listening to this, you've heard this before, like they took my photo with an iPhone, right? And there's like a stigma behind it. Well, number one, first of all, iPhones are better than almost every DSLR camera that exists today that anyone's going to buy, especially for the
what
price.
we do.
Yeah, for what we do and for the price, for sure. So one of the things I was saying yesterday is how cool would it be if you were just giving iPhone photography tips to show off how good and how great something you can make from an iPhone is. And then if you get this following of people that love iPhones and the sports moms on like how to take the best action photos of your kid playing baseball with an iPhone. You do these things and you establish yourself as an expert in this field. And you can take courses on Udemy or, there's lots of platforms with online schooling on iPhone photography. If you do that, you establish yourself as an expert. And then whenever you see one of these moms at an event and they see you taking a photo with your iPhone and some other mom makes a comment, they're going to be like, oh my God, no, I follow this guy on Instagram and he makes the most amazing things out of his iPhone photography. Trust me, I trust him. I see what he does. And you don't even think about it, right? And especially if you're in a small area, like Kansas City is a small city. If you take that population, you break it down to the number of teams that play, how fast you can build a following based on the back of those, they'll recognize you. And then if they see that you're giving these tips out, again, a valuable following. But this all goes back to what is your goal and who do you want to follow you? Everything leads to that at all times.
Well, even Apple, they build their billboards around photos that they took from their phones.
Yeah.
Have you seen them?
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like this photo, billboard size, was taken from an iPhone.
Yeah, they have videos made just from iPhones. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But, again, I want to go back to the specific spot of who is your audience? And it doesn't matter. And, right now we're specifically speaking to people that do UTP and sell posters, but it doesn't matter who you are. Who are you trying to get to follow you? And stop worrying about quantity and start worrying about quality, because I promise you, a 500-person following of the right people is so valuable.
Mm-hmm. Everyone listening, we all have the same target market. So who would that be? So it's not going to be different for Armando and Anthony.
But it could be.
Okay.
So I'll explain, right? So again, this is a matter of like the target audience for Chad, Julie, UTP is directors. That is our target audience.
We're talking about specifically what they can do for social media.
Absolutely. But it depends, right? So what avenue you want to take. So let's say that you want your audience to be the players, because you kind of accept that odds are your social media following, unfortunately, is probably not going to generate direct correlated revenue. Mm-hmm. So instead of that, you need to think about a following and what do they engage in. So if your following is kids, well, then I am thinking about if I'm a kid, what would I want to consume? Well, I would want to know who is the number one 9-year-old player in the country this year. What events what was the number one team this year, right? I would want to know some fun things like that. And then if I'm at an event, I don't know, maybe some fun stats. Maybe I do interviews with kids. A kid that you might not know hit 4 home runs today. I don't really know. It depends.
But I think kids don't have the purchasing power that the parents
Right, that's what I was saying. You have
and also now Instagram is changing where 13 and under have their own Instagram. They don't even see
adult stuff.
Yeah, so they.
Well, there you go. So that's a whole other piece, right? Like which audience are you finding? So if it's moms, what am I looking for, and what is valuable to a mom that's going to an event, or a coach? If I'm a coach, what is valuable to a coach?
Right.
And so you have to figure out, like, because Armando might say, hey, I want team moms. Anthony might say, I want coaches. Right. And Chad might say, well, I actually care about directors and I only want a following of 50 people.
Well, because you like if Armando was a coach for his kids, he knows what coaches like and feel. Yeah. And then Anthony might connect with the younger crowd and can relate to them that way. And then that makes sense.
Also, let's just say hypothetically, you have moms. Okay, let's just say that we choose moms. Well, Julie's path might be, I'm going to make content for how to make the event easier for my kid, how to travel, how to prepare a team for the weekend. Whereas Anthony's might be like, how to take photos of your team if you're a mom, how to create booklets for your kids that they want to keep for the year, right? You could take the same exact audience and still split it off into a fork. And the more hyper-focused you are, the better your content, the more people want to consume it. Because I use Alex Hormozy a lot because I have never personally found someone that I liked consuming the array of content that they put out. And so Alex gave something that really stood out to me, that like screamed at me, and it helped us focus on what we want to do with the grind, and it's helping us with building brackets with directors. He said, look, I was making content, and I had a buddy of mine who owned a business and who did like $7 million a year, and he's like my perfect avatar. He's perfect, right? And he goes, and I saw him a few months back, and I was like, oh man, what do you think of my content? He goes, oh man, you were talking about some other stuff. He goes, I don't really think I'm your avatar anymore. He goes, I know you're just talking about like general business stuff. That just really doesn't do it for me. And he's like, so honestly, I'm not really consuming much of your content anymore. And Alex like went back and was like, stop everything. Every single thing we're making, stop it. Because what's happening, and it's exactly to my point when we first started this podcast, was we are getting, or you could be getting the wrong following. So all of a sudden, Alex was getting people that didn't own $7 million businesses. And the purpose behind his following is he wants to buy into businesses that do $1 million in profit a year. So he is building this following of people for the, that are building a business that are doing that so he could buy into them. That's the purpose. His purpose is not to make money on the podcast. He doesn't make money on the YouTube. He doesn't care about that. And so he realized he was losing his following, but he was getting way more views. So it actually made no sense. So he scaled all of his views back to get the right view. And that to me was like instantly, when I looked at my TikTok, it was like, it's all the wrong people. So, okay, on here right now, I want to talk about something that we do get asked a lot. And it's about when should you boost a post? Okay. And this is actually very, very important. So there's a video on here, and for those of you that are seeing me with short hair for the first time, it's kind of hard to look at actually for me. It's just weird. But I am going to pull this thumbnail. Well, yeah, whatever, dude. I'm just going to do a quick screen share of this, and I want to show you guys a video. And this was my most successful post of all that I've ever had, and I'm going to show you why. Okay, so at the bottom, if you notice, this had 14,200 views, and this was boosted. So it went out to my following first. I think my following shared it the 200 times, and it was never shared again, and TikTok killed it because they were like, this is not going to work. But I want you to see what this is, and I want to show you how it worked. Okay, so I don't know if you can hear it, but essentially it's a okay, hang on.
Within the next 2 weeks. When I first dove into this industry, it was so complicated. I swore I'd document the entire process to make this extremely easy for anyone to do, regardless of computer skills or cryptocurrency knowledge. So I built a course that walks you through step by step exactly how I've done it. Today, my cryptocurrency mining rate is making over $150 per day, or over $4,500 per month with zero effort on my part. If you're ready to learn exactly how to do it yourself, let's get started. Do you work?
Okay. Wow, it's so hard to watch that. Mary, you're laughing because you remember
going back
that.
In time,
oh,
yeah.
God. Okay, so guys, I want to explain something about this post that's so important. It went to 200 people, and at the time, I think my following was probably 75,000. Went to 200, TikTok killed it. I boosted it, okay? And when you boost it, you can select the audience, and I selected a cryptocurrency interest following. In 48 hours, it became a best-selling online cryptocurrency course on Udemy and made tens of thousands of dollars. And it happened in 48 hours. And then what happened, again, what happened is I started getting some of these people following me, but yet I have no interest in posting about cryptocurrency at all. And so I'm meddling in things that I shouldn't have been doing. Now, it worked out, and the whole purpose behind the course, honestly, was we talked about doing a course. Julie and I talked about doing a course for a long time. We had this idea, and then when I started to buy into this, Mary had a heart attack because I spent so much money building this one, and then it was like, well, I want to build another one. And it's just like, oh my God, I'm going to document it, make a course. And we ended up doing it. We documented the whole process, made this course. Mary filmed me. We didn't even use, I don't even think if we used audio. If you could tell, it sounded terrible. God, just listening to that just makes me cringe. But it was terrible quality. It was terrible audio. But here's the key. The end product was amazing. And it was a course that for any person, no matter who you were, it didn't matter if you had a single ounce of crypto experience, In 1 week, you could make money mining cryptocurrency with an exact step-by-step instruction and a PDF on exactly what to buy and exactly what it would cost you. And that product was amazing. And therefore, I only had to share it or boost it. I don't. You were asking me. I don't know how much I spent boosting it. It was between $500 and $1,000. But that then ended up paying for everything that we had ever done in cryptocurrency. And that's the difference in, we were talking before this podcast about what makes something shareable. Why do you buy something? You buy something once. Well, maybe you could buy something once because of a really good salesman, but you don't buy something twice unless it's great. Mm-hmm. And that's, at the end of the day, like, content is not rocket science. And the reason that our content on UTP has never exploded is because we've put no effort in. Zero. We make some cool posts that are fancy looking and we use our design skills, and that's the end of it, right? So if you think about this, one post can make tens of thousands of dollars if you have a good end piece.
I've taken courses on that, actually. So
Yeah.
with content creating, and the very first video of his course was, I cannot help you if you don't have a good product.
Yeah.
And like fulfillment behind the product and follow up behind the product. Mm-hmm. I can teach you all day long how to make posts on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, but if you don't have the product, it doesn't matter.
So, interesting story you say that, right? I'm talking about Tesla for a second. Obviously, we all have Teslas. We're diehard supporters of the company. And Elon, when he first started, he made a point that stood out to me. This is in 2013, a long time ago. It really stood out to me. And he said, I couldn't make a car that was as good as everyone else, because if I did, it would never get the attention it needed to actually change the way people think. It had to be so much better that they couldn't believe it. And, every person I've ever talked to that talks about content that they do, every single one of them will tell you, in a theoretical world where you have a product that when someone buys it, they tell someone else, all you have to do is get them once. So the amount of money that people spend on ads should only be to acquire a customer one time. If your end product is great, you should never have to acquire them again. You should just have to remind them you exist. And there's some power behind that when you start thinking about it. I don't know. That's the stuff right there. If you don't have a good product and you aren't putting the best piece out there, and when we say product, if you have a poster company, your product is not the poster. It is your setup. It is your staff's shirts. It is how you get there, when you get there, the emails you send to them before an event, the emails you send after, the communication during the event, the way you approach coaches, the way you handle disgruntled people, the fact if you underpromise and overdeliver versus overpromise and underdeliver, that is your product. It is all of it. And if you don't realize that, you need to think long and hard about what you're putting out there, because I promise you that product, that director has other directors that run tournaments. And the reason I know that's because this next week I'm going to a convention with 1,000 directors. They all get together and they all talk about these vendors and the things they do. And the question is, would they tell them about you? You're the product, right? Your entire business is a product. So, all right, let's carry on with this here. I want to keep moving here, Jay Bird. Okay. So this is something we kind of touched on. What are millions of views worth? In all honesty, nothing. Really, on TikTok, views and videos are really almost always worth nothing. It's a vanity piece. It's really cool. It's a dopamine hit. Outside of that, unless you have something attached to it that can make you money, there's not a lot there unless you just enjoy doing it. So,
yeah, because these have an M, like it's millions of views.
Yes, millions.
And we'll go back, like your boosted post had only thousands of
14,000 generated tens of thousands of dollars. Those other ones, I'm pretty sure combined was probably paid like $200 for all three of those, right? So the only way this would work is if I had a partnership with a company that then my following helps them make money and then they give me some of it. Or if I have an affiliate product that I can make a really cool video on and I can sell, yes, that's worth money. But making content for the sake of making content like that doesn't actually generate too much revenue, just so you guys are aware of. So, okay. So we want to transition now into the final part of this podcast, and it's about designing engaging posts. Okay. So before we do that, I am going to pull up Anthony's Instagram, and I want to go through it here, and I want to talk about some feedback So let me share my screen really quick. Okay, hang on. Search here. Go to Anthony. All right, Anthony's is Poster Boy KC. Okay, screen share. 3439. All right, perfect. Okay, so let's go here. All right, so at first glance, I think, okay, this looks really good. All right, I love he did the logo. I think he did a really good job using emojis, things like that on the top part. He explained it very well. Love that. But then when I look at these posts, okay, really cool looking. But let me ask you a question. What of these posts would you share?
The only one that I would is if my kid was the one wearing the chain around the neck and then the poster right next to it.
Yep. Mayor, would you share any of these?
Why do you have to share them?
I'm just asking, would you share them?
No, but I really like his page.
The way it looks?
Yeah. I really like it. I can tell right away what you're selling, what you do, what sports you do immediately without having to click on each post, read about it. That if you click on them, that's a problem because then it's like that.
Yep.
But a lot of people don't do that. So click on the first one.
The first one, okay.
Okay. So Anthony, no one is reading this because they're not going to click on it and then read a question and then scroll the next one, read the question. So it would be better to have that questions. Feel free to leave a comment as one of your 3 posts if that's the way you're doing your page.
Got it. Okay.
So you can make an individual post and put all that, or the way he has his page, it would be better to do like it on the 3 across.
Gotcha. Okay. So now from a following perspective, okay, the way I look at content is you have to, again, ask yourself, what is the goal? Because if the goal for Anthony is to show people what he does and just to be able to like send it to directors, he has a home run.
Yes.
If the goal is to gain followers, this is not content that people are going to follow.
Unless one of your kids were
just happened to be on there.
Right.
That's it. And so the real question is what is your goal?
6 followers he has are probably those kids.
Yeah, they're probably all people we know. Nope, it's Eric. I don't even know. Yeah, so I'm sure it's probably those kids. You're probably right. Or people that work with them or something, right? And so the thing is, if you're trying to get it off the ground, you have to think about what is content that people would share. So while Mary says this looks great and she can see what he does, my argument is no one's ever going to get here in the first place. So while it's cool and all, we have to think about content that provides value to someone as well. And that is the secret sauce, is can you take your product and take something and add something of value that someone can apply to their life or to their existence. And that's how you find followers.
Right. And go to like a single post, that's how it's showing up on people's pages. They have to go to your page to see all the cool stuff. So it actually doesn't look that good. Well, I guess it's all.
This one's kind of funny.
Cool. But a lot of them are cut off halfway.
Yep.
Like, what is that? That's how it's showing up. Unless they click on your page to see the full graphic, which is not likely because
Yeah.
And then again, going back to pictures versus videos, people don't read the pictures. Whatever you have to say, if you make a caption, just make a video on whatever that caption was going to be. And that's how people are going to have their attention.
Well, and I think I do want to pull up UTP's Instagram. So let me pull that up here. Okay, so let's go here. I guess I could have just gone backwards. Sorry. All right, so we're going to go to UTP's Instagram right here. And I'm going to show you just some of the stuff that we've done, right? And I'm going to actually critique ours as well. And I didn't even, honestly, I'm not even going to lie to you. Some of these posts today, I didn't even know we made. That's kind of shocked. So the top part I love the logo. I love the over 1,000 events, over 150,000 memories made. I think that's really cool. We have a really cool link tree. Like if you click on that little link tree, pretty sure that this thing looks pretty good. Yeah, so you can kind of see that right there. That looks good. Okay, so now the thing that I like the most about our page, so these right here, again, no one's sharing them, but I mean, I don't know. Again, they look cool.
They look cool, but they all look the same.
Yeah.
They all look very similar, and
check this
repetitive.
out. You can see where it happened. So just watch this. I was looking at it, and boom, here's the day.
I like the new stuff better.
Yeah, here's the day. Well, this was like similar, and then you get way back down here, and it's like, whoa, right? But these represent the product the best. But okay, so at the very top up here, I'm going to highlight it at the very, very top of the page. So you have these icons: products, bloopers, fun facts, event setup. So we've tried a lot of stuff. So if you click on products, it'll take you to different posters like that. So that's kind of cool. Bloopers. This is actually things that I love, or just like kids. Like you can see this little kid. Just, I don't know that. He's having a bad dream tonight. I just think that's funny. But okay, so anyhow, so that's where my thought is on that, right? Then we have fun facts. So we took this, and Mary, you actually made a great point about this. So this right here, like Major League umpires are required to wear black underwear in case they split their pants. Okay, a lot of people didn't know that.
Unfortunately, that's too much reading.
Yeah, exactly. But it's cool
for how everyone has like a 2 second, not even a 2 second. Now I think it's down to like a 1 second attention span for when people are scrolling on social media. It's something really sad. So all this, like this one with the basketball player, I'm not gonna read that.
Never gonna read all that.
No,
never.
No.
Yeah.
But if you make a video about it, like, hey,
whatever this quote is. Yeah, hey,
right?
you have to love your sport, your passion. I don't know. This
Right.
sounds like ChatGPT. I don't know who made it, but sounds like ChatGPT. Okay, so then the other one here is this one I thought was really cool. Actually, this is event setup. So someone that Julian did this a while back, and so he made like a little fun video of the weekend and set it up. But again, linked it up there, and it was something kind of cool. He did it around Christmas. It was an indoor setup, and he was slow, so it ended up turning out pretty cool. And then he like made it like a Christmas theme, whatever. So that was pretty interesting. So that was one that he highlighted these things.
Even a simple video,
Yep.
it has my attention for the 2 seconds.
Yeah. Okay. So now let me go off of these. So now this one, the work one, this one I actually thought this was my favorite one. So they put a lot of really cool effort into making it unique and different. And yeah, so this one had a lot of views on it when we did it a while back. But just recorded printing a poster. right, recorded framing and those things. And then this was a work with UTP video that we made about people that were interested in working with us. Man, I look different, don't I? Holy cow, crazy. So you can kind of see the video and learn from everything and how we did it and just all those. So again, we have videos on here, but all of our posts aren't videos. And every page that you look at that has a big following, all of their posts are videos. All of them.
Yeah.
And you should take note that TikTok exploded because of video. And, I think that's just something to point out. But I just wanted to highlight just what the page looks like. Like, Anthony, you did a good job. I think, like Mary was saying, it needs to be video. It's cool looking aesthetically when you open it. But again, you need to think of things that are going to engage people, that they can share, that will provide value, right? You either entertain them or educate them. Pick one and go with it. So my advice is educate. I think educating is the way, because if you're educating people, it means you're learning as well throughout the process. Mm-hmm. So, all right. So now designing engaging posts. This will be the final part of our podcast today. This is something that we are actually, I think, really good at. And believe it or not, we don't design any of our posts, and we don't design any of our emails, and we don't design any of our poster templates, and we don't design anything. And we are experts at design. So I'm going to start with a quick story on how we learned to outsource for logos, because this was one of the coolest things for me. So for the longest time, we obviously use a lot of logos, and we put them on posters, and we couldn't get high-res ones, and I wanted someone that could make logos. So here's what I did. I went on to a company called 99 Designs. It's 99designs.com. And I paid for their top. It's like a gold level contest. I want to say it was $1,000. It was either $700 or $1,000. And so what happens is exactly what you would think. You get 99 designs. So I had a logo. It was the Iowa State Tournament. And I put this out there, and I wanted to get 99 designs. And so sure enough, you post it, you put all the details of what you're looking for, and then all the designers from all over the world submit a design to you. So I get these designs that start coming in, and I am looking for a few things. Number one, I made a revision to every single person that I like their logo, because I wanted to see two things. How well do you follow directions? Number two, how fast do you respond to me? And number three, how fast do you turn it back around? Because that tells me a lot about you without ever knowing anything about you. And when you're working with contractors, one of the biggest things is that you have to know who you're working with. So now we go through this whole contest, and I end up picking a guy. His name is Zai. Love Zai. He's a big part of all of your lives, and you don't even know it. But so Zai is from Jakarta. Zai speaks zero English. And I know Mary's going to laugh because she remember this. So I wanted to have a conversation with Zai on the phone, but Zai speaks no English, like not a word of English. So I went on to a platform called Upwork, which is where you hire 1099 contractors. And we've met a lot of people. We met Ron, who designed our website on there. We've met a lot of people on Upwork. We get Jason. But so I went online and I posted an ad for an English Indonesian translator. And I met a lady named Rini. Love Rini. Oh my God. If this ever finds her, I would love for it to find her. But she was amazing. And so what we did was every Tuesday night from 2 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock in the morning, I had a call with me, Zai, and Rini for about an hour. And I did this for months. You remember this?
Yeah, I do.
Oh God.
It was so cool.
Yeah, it
the
was
first
amazing.
one was in our car. It was like 2 a.m. We're sitting in there like, oh gosh.
I remember that. It was crazy. And so then what would happen was I would start out by sending Zai. First of all, I wanted to know if he wanted to work with us. Are you interested? Here's what we're looking to do. And at first it was like, okay, we want 5 logos a day. I don't know. That wasn't how it ended up being today, but that's how we got started. And so I would send him logos on Monday. And then on Tuesday night, we would have this call. And then I would go through a logo, what I was looking for, what I didn't like that he did, whatever. And Rini would translate all of it. And we all became friends. And then there were times where I didn't have a lot of logos. I still paid him. And I just got on the phone and had conversations about his kids. I learned about his life there, his childhood, what his family goes through, all those things. And actually during COVID, we helped them a lot during COVID because their country shut down and there wasn't a lot of support there. And we helped their family. But great, great, great situation. And by building that, then we built onto it. And today, I would have to say, I can't tell you for fact, but I would have to say that I don't think there's a company in the world that makes more logos per year than we do. So right now, we put out about 3,000 logos per month. So I can't imagine a company having a need for that much volume outside of what we do. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I guarantee you we're in the top 5%. So that to me was something I was really proud of because we found it. And when we figured that out, we started learning how to outsource and how to find people. And so today, Julie, tell them about the booklet that you're making and just kind of the process that we're experiencing right now. No, this is really important. I know you're laughing because she knows where I'm going with this.
So we're putting together a catalog for directors with all the different products that we have to offer because we offer a lot of things. And
47 pages.
47 pages worth of products that I've spent probably 2-3 weeks putting together. And so a couple days ago, we went through and just kind of finalizing everything. And then ready to go out. And I know you wanted this before the directors convention, so
good.
You had it, but it's not going to be ready.
It's all good.
The next morning, I'm like, this isn't good enough.
Yeah, so let me tell you, she finishes the book. We spend 2 hours on a call finalizing it. And I'm thinking we're ready for printing the next day. And I get in the car and she's like, yeah, it's not good enough. I don't like it. I'm like, are you, is this a joke? You've worked with this 3 months now. This has got to be a joke. And you're like, no. And so then we talked about our strategy on how to find someone. So tell them what you've done the last couple days.
Right. And look, it's good. It's just someone can do it better. That's their sole job. That's their sole purpose is to make catalogs. So I went on Fiverr, and right now I have 4 or 5 people working on a 2-page design. And the person that I like the most of those designs, we're going to hire to redo the 48 pages. Because I'm not going to pay someone to do 48 pages. And
see how they, right.
Right. And it's a waste of their time, waste of our time. Mm-hmm. So,
by the way, I just want to throw the bracket up here. Eric, if you could go to the screen. I want to show this thing that Julie did. This is a page. Okay. This is amazing. Okay. Yet again, not good enough for Julie. So just so you guys can kind of see what's going on. For those of you, this will be a first time seeing it, but this is what it looks like. So anyhow, just wanted to share that.
Well, we'll have to share what it looks like after someone
absolutely
really does it.
Well, and so the key with this and working with people is to understand that you're building a network. And the best part about contractors is you only pay them when you need them. Now, look, Zai works for us full time, but a lot of people you pay when you need them. And so this particular person that you're going to hire, first of all, you've got 5 to 10 of these people or whatever. They're all going to submit the same 2 pages, and then we're going to lay them out and go, I love this one. Or we might go, I like this on this one and this on this one, and give both of them the feedback and see which one combines it the best. Mm-hmm. And then whoever wins, that's who we go with, right? But we're paying them all for 2 pages. They all get paid for the design they're doing because we're not trying to get anything for free. But we're going to find the one. And then when we have that one, now we want to develop that relationship. We want them to understand us, and then we want to know, what kind of photos do you want? What can we do to help you be better, right? And all of this, like when I started working with Zai, it's frustrating, man. Like you get on a call for an hour with a translator, like we had a lot of fun, but it's frustrating. And you're just like, man, dude, is it worth it? But when you get it right, like today, you wouldn't even realize, but all of our emails, and I will pull up some emails here in just a second, but they're all designed by Tessette, who we met on Fiverr. And again, Fiverr, by the way, if you need high quality, I would start with Upwork. And I'm just being honest, right? We met Tessette on Fiverr, and she's amazing. And Julie will tell you there's a lot of people on Fiverr that are $1,000 for a project and very, very expensive. But traditionally, the word Fiverr was built to be, what was it you were explaining yesterday?
Yeah, so the whole premise behind the website Fiverr is you can get $5 designs done.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, Fiverr itself is truly, truly amazing. It really is.
And you can still get, like, if you just need a single post, you can get things done for $5 still.
Yeah.
It's much more rare. I mean, like you said, I didn't pay less than $40 for 2 pages of the catalog.
Yeah, so even if we do 10 people, it's $400.
Right.
But we get them all, right? So, okay. So I'm going to pull up an email really quick, and I'm just going to share it. And, I mean, Julie, this is honestly just your newsletter. I'm assuming Tessette did this, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So what we basically do is everything we have a little Airtable set up, and that's a database, and then we just put emails that we need in there, and then Tessette goes in. So you guys can see this is the newsletter if you haven't seen it. So you go down, like obviously our podcast, new episode, things like that. We put on here live chat, things like that, Q&A, new templates, holiday promotions, boom, boom, boom. Right. So
this form of email is so much nicer than just having a typed out.
Of course. Yeah. And so I'm going to go back here really quick, and I'm going to show you guys a few more. So let me go to let's see, a recently completed. Sorry, guys. I know we sent a lot of emails, but I think it's worth showing while we're on here. I wanted to show a couple of the top 72. Like these are an event that we're involved in. So this one's like a roster release email. So we click on this here. And again, a highly targeted thing, right? But we have a roster announcement. Very simple. Visit now. You can click this and see the roster of what it is, important information, just like this, right? Like whenever someone opens this, it's just, wow. Like they put a lot of effort in. And I have found this to be the key. It's the same with a podcast. And honestly, just so you guys are aware, Mary doesn't take a lot of credit for much, but the quality of this podcast is because of your level of expectation. No, you know it. Don't even lie. Like, I promise you guys, there's no one that critiques me and Julie, and privately Julie, she doesn't even know, more than Mary.
Okay.
It is true, right?
Yes. And I don't, I'm the behind the scenes. So
yes.
Coming on today is very vulnerable for me.
Well, I like that.
I don't like it.
Yeah, I know. But
uncomfortable.
Yeah, of course it is. That's what's great. But the thing that Mary did was she explained and she showed me a couple of her favorite podcasts. And one of them we both love is called Revisionist History. And it's actually not a video podcast. It's an audio podcast. But the audio was amazing. And it was like we wanted to have that audio. The next one was Know Thyself. This one actually like took my brain and put it on steroids because Mary was showing me this video podcast on Spotify, and I was like, oh my God. I mean, the setting was amazing. Mm-hmm. The audio was amazing. And you listen to them.
Yeah, high quality.
Yeah.
Both of them are very high quality, great podcasts.
Yeah, and what we want is if someone stumbles upon this, and not even stumbles, I don't really care about the outside world, right? Like in our world, if we hire these interns, and let's say that they think about, maybe I would want to do this later, right? We want to make sure that every piece we're putting forward represents who we really are. And I think the podcast, we got it started because that was the first goal, but it wasn't. And that's the same with the social following, all of this, right? This goes back to give it everything you have, and then at the same time, keep learning so you can give it everything you have again, and it levels up every time. And look at other people, look at what they're doing, and figure out which approach do you want to take. You know, Julie, you talked about on Facebook, you join all the Facebook mom groups, all of those, and you learn a lot about people in those groups.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to, if that's your target market, is the baseball sport moms.
Yep. Yeah.
Be engaging on those platforms.
Well, the last piece I want to give you on, if you really want to grow your following, this is a piece of concrete advice that you can do starting today. Look at posts in your niche and give the highest quality comment. Okay? Because people like comments, and then oftentimes you will be able to piggyback off of someone else's content. You make a high quality comment on there, and then people will go to your page if they really like your comment. I don't know if you ever do it, Mary. Do you ever go to someone's page because of their comment? I do it all the time. Because if I'm like looking at a business post and someone provides like a really interesting piece of advice that I'd never thought of, I'm like, oh man. And I click on it to see if they have that kind of content. And so it's a very, very easy way to take your obsession with consuming it, and you don't have to necessarily create, but to get eyeballs on your page, go on, like stuff, and make the highest quality comment.
Well, you
Think
need
it
to
through.
like stuff that's relevant to what yours is. Like
Yes.
if you're offering photo taking iPhone hacks, make sure you're commenting on the photo taking iPhone hacks video.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, know your following and know who you're trying to attract, and make sure when they come there, they go, oh, this content's amazing. I want to follow them. And you'd be shocked at how much liking and commenting on other people's posts can do for your page. So that is a concrete piece of advice that you can do starting today if you have good content. So we're going to go to the last slide here, Jay Bird. I know it's about building the relationships long term. So if you get really good at content and you do want to make videos, one of the downfalls to making video content is the amount of time it takes. It is one of the most frustrating pieces. And so for me, what I'm always looking to do is find people that I can work with long term. When we met Zai, I doubled down. I'm all in. I do not care what it takes to get it right. I will get it right. When we built our design office in Mexico, even though we have automation, just so you guys know, a lot of you that don't know, we have a design office in Mexico right now. We had one in the Dominican Republic. We had two in Mexico. Now we have one. There's a backup. And we were doubled down on getting it right. And we do that because when we bring people into our circle, the goal is never for our circle to get smaller. The goal is for our circle to get bigger with high quality people. And when you get the right people, like just recently, we hired this guy named Jason, and we're going to bring him on a podcast. There's no question. But Jason, on the first call we ever had, we actually interviewed in the same process, the same thing that we're talking about with design. We brought a bunch of people together and we interviewed them. And I did it first, then I brought Julie on to interview the two that I like the most. And the truth is, the person we like the most is not the person we hired. Right? Mm-hmm. There was a reason. And we get on a call with Jason, and Jason didn't have, like, this other guy was just very, like, you just liked his energy, right? The problem was he wanted us to tell him what to do. We got on a call with Jason. Jason pulled our stuff up, and he's like, dude, no, you got to do this. You got to do this. You're missing this. It needs to be HubSpot. It needs to be this. It needs to be automated like this. This is how it's got to be done. And we were like, oh, my God. Immediately, we knew we were not the smartest people on the call by a mile. And so now we have this Jason in our network, and we have this new idea. And the first thing we do is we don't have to figure it out anymore. We say, hey, Jason, we're thinking about doing this. What would you do? And he's like, this is what I would do. And then we have a Ron in our network when we, went to the web world, and it's like, hey, Ron, we want to do this. How would you do it? And he's like, this is what I would do. And we don't have to think about things anymore. And that has helped us. That is how you scale so much faster in everything you're doing. So if it comes to finding someone on Fiverr to make video content or to make social posts for you, you need to make sure you have lots of examples to show them what it is. If they do not speak English, you need to make sure that every single piece of instruction you give is in the simplest possible terminology. Do not try and sound smart, because you end up causing yourself all sorts of headaches. Like, just don't do it, right? And that would be my advice on long term. Find people that you can work with. And I promise you, if you do this, remember, this game is long term. It is not a sprint. It is like Eric runs all the time, marathons. And for those of you that don't know, Eric is doing our videoing right now, and he runs marathons without even trying. And then it's like he goes to lunch afterwards. Me, I run a mile. You got to take me to the ambulance. So
it's terrible.
Yeah.
He doesn't train.
I know, it's unbelievable. So
right.
whatever.
No, so
yeah.
And I think this could be a podcast in its own, is hiring outside help and contractors. Because I don't think you need to start with this, because you need the experience to be able to help translate your thoughts over. And that's why I did the booklet first, the catalog, the 47 pages. It's like, it's a much easier conversation to have with these people. Like, here's our baseline, make it better.
Yeah.
And same with emails. I don't think having beautifully structured emails are always the right thing to do, because to me, when I see a email that's beautifully done, I automatically think it's an ad. Like
Yeah.
so you're trying to sell me something. And so sometimes a more effective way for emails is just a plain text body
Yeah.
email sent out. And you made a really good point. I know you're about to say it with
Darren, yeah. So Julie and I have a friend. His name's Darren Larson, and he's a baseball director in Houston. Really good friend of both of ours. And one day we were on the phone, and he sends me his emails. And every time he sends them, I call him. I'm like, dude, why are you a dumbass? Like, you literally misspell words. He goes, Chad, I misspell words on purpose. And I was like, why? And he goes, dude, when a word is misspelled, someone knows that an actual person wrote it.
Oh, smart.
And I was like, really? He goes, dude, I'm telling you right now, the engagement I get from sending a perfectly grammatically correct email that is perfectly punctuated, I never get responses to them. He goes, I send one where I misspell stuff. People will respond immediately because they know I sent it to them.
You know, when I said the emails that Chad was showing with Tessette, the ones that Tessette made, and it's like, that's so much easier to read through than a block of text. But what you just said makes me feel like as a customer, you care and not just want my money and like it's not an ad. That's so true. The first way with Tessette, someone building it out, it is easier to read and process and go through quickly and just like, you know, but your way feels personal and more engaging, I guess, if they're looking for that, to not feel like, well, I'm just trying to get my money. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't
for
like
sure.
when
I know.
we
Mary
want money from
thinks
our
that we should be a
customers.
not-for-profit, just so you guys know. We
The
should charge
beauty
nothing.
about the behind the scenes that I do with my critiquing on the podcast, and I know you guys all had a call with Chad and Julie about this, and you guys were talking about me. I like to bring the perspective of the consumer, the customer, and how I would feel hearing these things, but I have to remember that you guys are also trying to make money. So.
Well, here's
Can
the
someone
thing.
pull up the top CEOs of non-for-profits, what they make in a year?
Yeah, they make a lot of money. They make a lot of
How
money.
much does Susan B. Anthony make?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Whatever her name
Well,
is, yeah.
and to Mary's point about this, money is the oxygen of a business. And so remember, will you pay more for a Lululemon shirt than you would pay for a shirt from Walmart?
Because it will last years. Yeah.
Right, but
the quality of it.
absolutely. And so you'll pay for something, even though you know Lululemon didn't pay $80 to make that shirt. They probably cost them $10, but you'll pay $80 for it. Why? And they don't feel bad that you're paying $80. No, what they did was they found the threshold that you will pay, and that is the formula of all businesses, is to find the threshold of what someone would pay. Again, I don't want to go off onto that topic with this, but just so you know, that is the goal behind all of it. It's not about feeling bad. It's just when you provide value, your customer will tell you how much value you provide. If you charge $100, if they say no, then you don't provide $100 in value to them. And you know, we've talked about this a lot. Like, I had this conversation. So we have offices in Mexico, for those of you who don't know, and Phil's down there. And we had this conversation recently, you know, where we were talking about, I said, hey, dude, you know, if you don't think that that it'll work, if you don't, sorry, my battery pack died on there, just so you know. But if you don't, if people aren't wanting to buy it, you're not giving them enough for the value. Period. Like, right? Offer them 10 posters for $50, see if they'll buy it.
Yeah.
Then they feel like it's worth it. So then you can start figuring out what is the threshold of what they think is worth it, and that's where you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Before you get off on, you just said
No,
you
it's
don't want
okay.
to get off on that. Bringing it back to what Julie was saying about, you don't think you need to have this big team right away. Like I was going to ask about Anthony. Like, he clearly can make some cool looking posts. Can he make his own, use that talent of his that he's doing on his social media and transform it into a, like, figuring out how to make emails? Or should he just automatically delegate that away, not deal with it, don't put your time and energy into that? What's better to start with?
So I think I have a definite answer for that. So number one for me is, the problem with people doing that stuff is it's distracting from their business. Okay. And like, Tessette knows how to make an amazing email. Anthony does not. So the learning curve is going to be large. So the learning curve of Anthony's time that he has to spend figuring that out means it's time that he doesn't spend figuring out how to make money. He's trying to learn how to make emails, which you can hire people to do emails, right? There's a thing there where you have to figure out at what point is it a distraction.
However, that's going to cost more going back and forth because you don't have the knowledge of what you want because you haven't immersed yourself in trying what you just said about.
But I disagree, because it might cost more time. Okay. So I will agree with you that it might take more time in the beginning. But remember, if you're playing long term, the goal is to understand how to communicate with the person on the other end as efficiently as possible. And the only way to do that is to start doing it. The sooner you start doing that, the faster you can. But the biggest thing, this is the biggest piece of this whole puzzle, is you have to make sure that the time you're saving, you're using to generate more money than what you're spending for the time that you're paying for. And that is the key right there. Because if I'm Anthony and I just want to pay to set to do emails, and then let's say I spend $100 this week on her doing emails. Well, if I do that and I did nothing to make more money, then
so what do you recommend him doing with
this
his
would
time that
absolutely.
He's
So depending upon where you are in your business, that's a loaded answer, right? But let's just say under a hypothetical world, what are some things that make money? Number one, I would be making sure I was always 90 days out on events. My calendar is loaded 90 days out. I have a backup option, an indoor. I am looking at weather. And as I'm getting closer, I'm always looking for additional events. I'm probably putting a database of events together that I want to reach out to maybe next year, or if I get a second crew or whatever. That's number one. Number two, I'm always interviewing people that I can bring on that could potentially help me out in a pinch, or that I think I could see some potential in that I could grow. That's number two. Number three, I would be emailing. I would do a basic email after an event, and a text message like Julie was talking about is another form of finding your following, but it can cost money if you don't do it from your phone, if you use the service, but whatever. But so I would definitely be texting and emailing my customers from the previous weekend saying, thank you, because again, that's the advantage of being small. You can do that. I would thank them. So my Mondays would be loaded. My Mondays would be texting, emailing, a thank you. Hey, just want to let you know we appreciate you buying it. Just so you know, if you or your team ever has any other needs, these are some other items that we have, and I'm always more than happy to help you guys out. If someone on your team didn't get a poster this week and they'd like one, or someone would like one redone, I can give them a discount if they just text me. That would be something I would do all my Mondays. My Tuesdays would be done doing research. I would be doubling down on my, what do you call it? On my post-event or my pre-event emails, I would be reaching out to directors nonstop. I think that's a big one. I would reach out to them like, hey, we want to send we're coming. What can we do to get one of those out there? And I would get one generic one that says UTP's coming this weekend. I wouldn't put the event name in it. I would have a standard one that I could pay for that's really nice and send it to a director. Those are things that I think I would double down my time and energy on. And also packing, right? This is something you don't think about, right? Like if you don't pack like something dumb, I can tell you how many surge protectors I bought. That surge protector cost me $20 or $10 or whatever the price is, plus the hour of my time to find a Walmart, go there and buy it. Now I'm not setting up. I'm not doing this. I'm not helping take photos. We might miss 2 teams because I wasn't there to help.
Right.
So it's like making sure that we have everything, making sure that my van is serviced, my oil is changed. All of those things can cause your business to have problems. And so sometimes preventing problems is actually making money, but you just don't see it that way because it doesn't go to your account today, right now. And it's a long-term game.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts on that answer?
Yeah, don't waste your time and energy on, email posts.
Yeah.
Hire out a good team that is a professional, and then...
Listen, start small, by the way, for email, like to set, we have super expensive. Okay, super expensive. But
the great thing is our crews, our people already have... Hey, this is what I'm looking for. Can you make something
Well, they
similar?
can use to set too. Like, I mean, if you work for us and you're listening to this, you can reach out to us and we can help out.
Like, this is, great emails. I want it to kind of look like this. Do your thing. But
also, my advice would be start with a $5 person on Fiverr, and find a $15 person on Fiverr. And I would start out. I would just have them make a post, a video post, and an email. I would find those 3 people, and I would put $100 to it. I would put $5 and 15, 5 and 15, 5 and 15, and see what you get. You'd be shocked at what can happen, right? And that's a good place to start, just to start figuring stuff out. So, Jay Bird, with that, anything you want to add before we sign off for everyone?
Nope. Sorry for cutting in front of your camera.
Oh, you're all good, girl.
And I'm sorry for making the...
When you're pregnant, the urge strikes, little Thor is on his way.
I know. I've been looking at my video feed and I'm like, holy cow, I'm
it's all good.
huge.
That's my fault for asking so many questions. I don't have the business mind. So I just have a lot of questions. I don't know. Hopefully they were helpful and not just like repetitive.
Well, I don't think that you not having a business plan makes a difference, because you do have, you see it, you're around it every day with me and with Julie and with us and everything we're doing. You're around it. It's just more so you're also thinking about some of the questions that we might take for granted, because Julie and I have done something so many times that, you know, we forget. Like for us to generate, if you were to say, could we generate $1 million with a new business? I would bet everything I have that we could start a new business this today and have in 12 months generate $1 million, because we know how to do it. Right. So I won't even think that way. Right. And so to me, it's like sometimes when you bring those questions back, it's like, man, and that's how I feel sometimes when I listen to Alex's stuff. They do $100 million a year. You know, we're a fraction of that. I mean, we're a 50th of that. And so it's like, holy shit, you know, like, dude, I don't even know what you're talking about when they're talking about positions they're hiring. I've never even heard of that position. I didn't even know that position existed, you know? And so it's things like that, that we're all like providing that value along the way. And I think for you asking those questions, it just reminds us sometimes like, hey, yeah, I didn't even think about that, you know? So thank you for that. But all right, guys, with that, we hope you like this form of content that we're going to be doing. Obviously, we hope this is our baseline. It only gets better from here. We'll have our slides a little bit more organized next time. I know that was kind of funny, but with that, guys, just want to say thanks for your time. And, you know, as always, we appreciate all of you for everything you do. And if there's anything we can do to help out, please reach out. And we'd love to hear from you guys.
All right. Bye, guys.